What's up, everyone? Being a big fan of Disney, I had to give Disney Lorcana a try. And you know what? We did really well. We won our first locals to get a promo Detective Mickey. So I'm gonna show you guys the deck I played and what I recommend going forward into Disney Lorcana. So I'm gonna start with our high end. In Disney Lorcana, I believe that's everything that is a 5 cost and higher. So we'll get started with my highest card, which is a Maleficent. This is a 9 cost card that when it comes into play, you get to banish any of your opponent's character. This is super strong because you can obviously banish something that they've shifted into, or an Elsa, or something that's really meta relevant that is a sticky card that you're having a trouble getting rid of. Then we also play 2 Elsa. Now, before I go any further, let me say I only played 2 Elsa because I only had 2 Elsa. And what I did was add a third Dr. Facilier. And the reason why I did that was because this combos so well with your rush cards. Whether it's the 5-drop Maui, or later we'll see the Rafiki. But these cards, when they are die in combat, I don't know how we word that in Disney Lorcana terms, with Dr. Facilier, it comes back to your hand. So that's a really cool effect that allows you to just keep abusing your rush characters. And then we also have 3 of the Queen. Now the Queen's really good because you can tap this card, so exert it, and draw a card every turn until they KO that. So you're really just using this to plus cards in your hand. And in this game, hand advantage is huge because you have to use cards in your hand and place them down into your inkwell to get things on the board, or to use action items or songs. So in order to do that, you need to play cards from your hand into your inkwell, and this creates a constant strategy of how am I handling my resources and how am I handling my hand, because hand is power in any card game. And then lastly, we have our 7-drop Aladdin. Now I'm gonna explain this card real quick because it is so good. You can shift into it, which means if there's already an Aladdin on the board, you can tap 5 ink in your inkwell and play down this Aladdin on your 3-drop Aladdin. And that allows you to obviously save some ink for your turn instead of paying a 7 cost. But even better, during your turn, whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, you gain 2 lore and your opponent loses 2. So you're able to control the board state and gain lore and have your opponent lose lore at the same time. It is one of the best cards, if not the best card in the deck. So next, we'll go into our low-end cards. So we'll start with 4 Anna. Anna's really good because we also play 4 Elsa. And whenever you play Anna and Elsa's already on the board, you can choose a character and that character can be exerted or it's frozen. So it's frozen. That opposing character does not ready at the start of turn. So if that card quested or attacked last turn, it will not be able to reset at the start of your turn, your opponent's turn. That's a huge advantage. Not only that, it can quest for 2. So you're gonna get to your 20 quest count a lot faster. Elsa, and this is why they work good in combination, you can tap Elsa and exert one of your opponent's characters, meaning rest that character. And then Anna can freeze it. So that's really good combo right there, great synergy. And not only that, if we have this Elsa on board, we can only pay 6 ink instead of 8 to essentially evolve Elsa into this higher 8 cost Elsa. Next, we have one of my favorite cards, which is Maleficent. Maleficent, when you play her, she's a 3 cost, you get to draw a card. And that's just too good. Drawing is insane in this game, and that's the reason you play purple, which is more of a support color. Next, we have the Rafiki that I was talking about. This card has rush. You can play it down. He swings for 3, and then if he dies in combat, he literally just goes back to your hand when you have the doctor out. That is such a good combo. It's honestly insane that it's in this early in the game with cards that I'm going to show you later as the action cards. Then we have 4 Aladdin. Now this card's mainly in there to evolve into the other Aladdin, right? Because we don't want to pay the full 7 cost, one can pay the 5 cost. But it does have a good ability in the fact that it makes your opponent lose a lore. So most of the time in this deck, when we're starting out, we're not questing hard. We're trying to draw cards, we're trying to gain advantage, we're trying to control the board until we have so much advantage built up that then we start questing, right? Like there's one game where my opponent had 17 lore and I had 0 and I won that game. He just never had characters on board. I banished everything, and then I had like 9 characters on board. It's impossible to win when the board state gets like that. So this Aladdin is good in that early game because you're just taking away from your opponent and creating a body. Next we have 3 Gaston, and this card's interesting. So it has Reckless, and Reckless in this game means that if you can attack a character, you have to attack a character. But what's so good about Gaston is he only costs 2 and attacks for 4. So he's really good at clearing the board on your following turn because he does not have Rush. It will take until the next turn in order to do that. Then we have 4 Le Fou, Gaston's little buddy here. And Le Fou is a very, very good card. Le Fou allows you to restand a character, but it cannot quest again that turn. So say we rested the queen to draw a card, we can restand the queen and then rest her again to draw another card. That means with our draw for the turn and our 2 queen draws, we have drawn 3 cards. Let me show you another crazy combo. This Aladdin that says when he attacks into a character, he makes you gain 2 lore and lose 2 lore. Yeah, so after he does that, we can restand him and do it again. So that's insane. That's all created from this little guy, Le Fou. So Le Fou's a really good card. And then we have the little version of the Doctor. The Doctor's really good because he has 4 shield, 0 attack, but his ability Challenger gives him 2 attack when he is challenging. Now, when a character swings into him, that effect does not take place. It's only when he is challenging a character. And now we'll go to the actions, items, and songs. So we'll start with Shield of Virtue. This is pretty much the same as Le Fou. It's a 1-drop item, and you can tap 3 to play that, to use its ability any turn. And it does not go away. Items do not go away in this game. So I have the option to use this card if it's on the board every turn. Next, we have my favorite song in the game, Friends on the Other Side. With Friends on the Other Side, we get to draw 2 cards. That's all it does, right? But the great thing about it is when you play Maleficent, you get to draw a card, and then she stays active. And then next turn, we can tap her, have her sing Friends on the Other Side, and draw 2 cards for free, essentially. We do not have to tap any ink because Maleficent is being rested to sing the song. So the sing mechanic in this game is really neat and allows you to manipulate the ink that you have in your inkwell in order to save that for being able to play characters. For example, if I sing with Maleficent and draw 2 cards, I might have got a new card that I can play down on my 4 ink turn, and now I just am able to create a body, where before I wouldn't be able to do that because I have to pay 3 ink to play this card. So the sing mechanic allows me to get around that. Next, we're gonna go into our control action cards. We have 2 Dragonfire, which just banishes any character. And that's for 5 ink. It's a hefty amount, but honestly, it's worth it. I mean, that's crazy advantage here. And then lastly, the most insane, Be Prepared. It wipes everyone's board. The fact that there's a board wipe and so early in this game, and it's just an action and there's no real penalty to it, is really insane. That card is so good. So this was the deck I played, and it did really, really well. Now, I would already make 2 changes, okay? I would cut 1 Gaston and probably 1 Be Prepared. And I'm gonna explain why these 2 cards. First off, Gaston's really good, but I never felt like he was the reason I won a game, right? And this game was so much draw. I want the cards that can win me a game. So he's really good if I see him on turn 2, so I have 2 of that. And he can still be played, still great for board clearing, and so on. Be Prepared is fantastic, but there was one game that I had 3 in hand, and being a 7-cost card, it's really hard to play that and develop board and take over the game. You play 3 so you can see it, but I really want to experiment with taking these 2 cards out of the deck and adding 2 Magic Mirror in its place. So Magic Mirror is a item card that stays on the board, will not be removed unless your opponent has a card that can remove it. But you pay 2 for this card, and then every turn you can tap 4 ink and draw an extra card. So there was times where I played at the mirror match yesterday and they had magic mirror and I didn't. And then next thing I know, we're at like 9 to 10 mana because we're trying to control, and by mana I mean 9 to 10 ink in the inkwell, and we're both trying to control each other's board, so we haven't quested much. Let's say it's like 5 to 6. But he has magic mirror out. He's just tapping 4 of his like 9 to 10 ink every turn and still having 6 left over to play cards and just drawing a card. And not only that, when you're plussing that many cards, you have more opportunity to play down more cards in your ink. Like, he got up to 13 ink in his inkwell. So he's able to draw an extra card every turn pretty much for free and still have 9 ink left over to play down like a Maleficent or any character that he needs to play. So I would play this more just for added consistency. And the reason why I would take a Be Prepared out is Be Prepared cannot be used as ink. If it has this icon where it's black and no gold oval around it, or I don't know what you would call that. Kind of looks like the James Bond logo around it. So if it doesn't have the James Bond logo around it, you can't use it as ink. So like this card can be used as ink, but Be Prepared can't. And we're adding 2 cards that cannot be used as ink. So that's why I would do a Be Prepared, because as good as Be Prepared is, and I know some people ran it at 4 of yesterday, I'd rather try to be a little more consistent in what my deck is trying to accomplish. And not having ink to play in the early game is very, very rough. So I think this list right here would be super consistent and super good moving forward and give you guys a good shot at winning your first locals too. So thanks for checking us out. We'll do more Disney Lorcana in the future, and make sure you hit subscribe. Thanks, guys.